Welcome to Blender Frenzy. I am Justin, and this is the continuation of our Terminator Skull series. And this video is all about recreating the inside gears here in the head pan. It's using all the same tricks and tips that we've been using throughout the whole course. So it's not really anything new, but you can kind of see how I start to shape this out and then reproject it. So we've got the pistons, the gears, and then after the gears will be the eyes. So when you're ready, let's get started. If you want to see more Terminator stuff, just come over to blenderfrenzy.com and you can see my new Blender Frenzy VFX course all about head tracking in Blender using the Terminator skull that we're making. Click take a look and then you can see what that's all about. If you scroll down, you'll get the skull. You'll see what we're going to create, making it look like the Terminator skull is under your skin. Whole bunch of stuff on how to film and how to create negative space and all of the good stuff here. You can check that out. If you just want the free starting file, start with the freebie single downloads. And then I've got a couple of them up here. I'll be adding more to this, but you can start with the T800 Metal Skull starting blend file here. And that is so you can start ready to go with the series, building your metal skull. And of course, if you want more, you can go to the Blender freebies, click sign up, and then you can see the member levels and what you can expect from those. You can also see what's inside and then scroll down to see all of the videos and extra videos on the Pro that you'll be receiving if you want. And again, that's blenderfrenzy.com. So now let's head back to the video. Okay, so now let's get to these gears here. Let's go to 3 and enable overlays. Let's hide our skull and jaw and pistons. We can actually name this pistons just so we're not confused. And then I'm going to shift right click to put the 3D cursor here, shift A to add in a curve, Bezier curve, tab into edit mode, and I'm going to middle mouse to rotate around so we can see this a little bit better. I'm going to come up here to the overlays, the curve edit mode, change handles to none so that we don't see those right now. I'm going to select this one here, X to delete vertices, and then take this one and Shift S and selection to cursor so that it's right there where we had placed our cursor. Going back into side mode here, we can take this and bring it up here, and you can just put these in the place that I'm going to show you here. So probably maybe something right here, and then E to extrude, maybe right here, and then E to extrude here, E to extrude here, and just place them like I'm doing it here. And that's the last one. So to connect these, we can press Alt-C to close that loop. And if we tab out, you can see this is what we have. So let's tab back in and clean this up a bit. Let's turn our handles on to all. Select everything by pressing A. And we don't have any handles because right now it's basically just vector, it seems like. So we're going to press V, and then we can set our handle type. And the first thing I'm going to do is say automatic. And that will push out all of our handles so that they can be grabbed. And then I'm going to press V again and then say free. And then we can click and drag them individually. Now I can't click and drag right now because if I press T, we need this to be in tweak mode so we can click and drag. And I want to actually put these inside here of this little structure. So inside the walls there, and just line the curves up. If you haven't worked with curves before, it's a bit of a learning curve, but you just take the handles. The middle point is actually the vertex. So just move the vertex in toward the inside of the wall here, and then you pull and push these handles around so that they match. Okay, so if I tab out, you can see there's a little bit of pinching here. And if you do see any pinching here where you don't want it to, what you can do is come in here, select the middle vertex, press V, and then change this to automatic again. And then when I move one handle, the other one moves and aligns with it so that there will never be any sort of pinching. Now I can't use this type of handle to make corners like that. That's why we did the free handle for most of them here. But we can definitely adjust. I'm going to make this one automatic as well. And we'll pull these closer a little bit together, and then I can adjust this handle plus this handle down here. If I pull this handle all the way up here, we're starting to see this little curve in here like that. And maybe I can pull this over just a little bit more so we can make that curve a little bit better. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, that's a lot more smooth here. And of course, you can always be as detailed with this as you want. Let's make this automatic as well. Pull this out like that, and then pull this, and then we can adjust this one down here, balance that out. Okay, so in object mode, let's go down to this data tab here, and then you can scroll down to geometry and open that up, and we're going to extrude it here with the extrude, and I think I'm only going to do like a 0.02. It just depends on your model and how you have things set up. Now, if you are in wireframe mode, you can see the edges and the faces. Now, it's still a curve, so we can still move it as a curve. But once we convert this into a mesh, this is how it's going to be cut up. And basically, this is determined just by sliding the points around. So the further they are from each other, the bigger the faces are. The closer they are, the more compact those faces get. But we're going to actually adjust that after the fact. Okay, and before I duplicate this, I'm going to call this gears and then curve. And then I'm going to shift D to duplicate this in object mode, of course. And then this is just going to be gears. So we're going to have the gears curve in case we need to fall back and bring that back, which I have had to do in my practice several times. Always a good idea. But anyway, so with the gears now in object mode, right click, convert to mesh, and now it is no longer a curve. If we tab into edit mode, you can see we can actually select the geometry as a mesh. So faces, points, edges. And the first thing I'm going to do is going to edge select. We're going to select some of these edges that are along the straight parts right here. I'm just circle selecting here, right click to disable that, and then X to dissolve those edges. And we only need those edges where it curves. So I'm just going to take these here and dissolve those. And then take these. And then I think I'm going to take every other one of these right here because we don't need this many on this curve. So maybe these, and then dissolve those edges. I think the rest is okay for now. All right, so let's go into solid shaded mode. This is what we have. And if we come out here into the 3D view, let's select all, and there we go. Okay, so this is what we have so far. And actually, before we extrude this out, one more thing I want to do in here is in edge select mode, I'm going to select this edge and shift select this edge, press F to fill that face. I'm going to do the same thing with this one. And then I think also with this one. And then, because if you can see, if we hide the gears here for a second, you can see we have this little curve going around like this, and then we have this like block of metal right here, which I'm going to just take some creative freedom to fill that in. So starting probably right here, we're still in edge select. I'm going to select this edge and then control select this one. It should give me this loop here, and then I can E to extrude that down. On the Z, now we're in normal transform orientation, so I have to press Z twice for the global. And then I'm going to do the same thing, but with scale. So S, Z, Z, and then 0. So that makes that flat up and down. And then we can put this somewhere like this. Awesome. Okay, now in face select, if we come back out here, we can select everything, E to extrude in, and we have that. And then in object mode, this looks too smooth, so we can, and that's not working because we actually have to have the object selected. Right click, shade, auto smooth, there we go. And then we have this angle, which I'm going to put up to 50 just to match the rest of our pieces, like the pistons and stuff. Okay, so we have this now, which is good. I'm actually going to take this in here and just S to scale that up a little bit maybe, and just move it slightly so that it covers everything over there. Awesome, the first part is done. The second part to this is creating another little piece, this thing that comes up here like that. And so what I did before was if I take an edge loop going down the middle like that, then I can take This face. So this face and this face. Okay, so basically from here to here, and then E to extrude those up. So we have something like this. S to scale, ZZ, 0 to make that flat. And then I'm just going to rotate and put those in place. If you need to go into wireframe to see that a little bit better, you can. And then I'm going to do another loop cut here, E, and then F to make that even. We talked about that in another video. And then we can scale that in like this, and maybe even rotate it a little bit, and then scale that in, just to follow the contour of this a little bit more. It doesn't have to be perfect, because this is just to add a little bit more detail to the skull so that the gears look like they're popping out a little bit. Okay, but let's add just a little bit of detail to the base. And I'm going to kind of just do this pretty quickly here, because a lot of this stuff we've done before. Just make sure you're in X-ray mode here if you're doing it like this, so that we can select all through it. Let's go in vertex select, and I also want to do a select box, because select box, if I have this instead of tweak, if I click and drag, it will change the selection. But if I box select pressing B, it will add to the selection, just so you know that. So I'm just going to kind of manipulate some of these here. Just to get the shape a little better. I'm not going to worry about this back here. I am going to reroute this here a little bit, just to kind of have extra geometry here and here. So circle select this dot here, which should select through here. Oh, I don't want these selected, so circle select middle, click to deselect those. And we're just going to delete these faces so that we can add in a couple of loop cuts here. Okay, so click and drag, and then shift click and drag so that we can select both of those there, and double G to slide that. So double G, slide this here, same thing over here. And I'm just matching up these points and these points over here. So grab this, snap it to that one with auto merge vertices. So we're merging those and merging those. And that's just so we have a little bit more geometry flowing around these circle parts so that we can extrude those in. So I'm going to add another loop cut, and then take these four faces. I'm going to go out of X-ray mode here for now. Deselect everything, select these four faces. Inset that, do our loop tools circle. Again, we've done all of this in another video. I will leave a link or a card or something so you can see that if you haven't. But I'm going to adjust this here. And then just to get that shape of that circle. And then here's just a little bit more tricky. Let's add in a couple loop cuts here. And for these, I don't really need to select behind, so I'm going to use my tweak. So we're going to just kind of move these to where they might make sense. Maybe pull these out a little bit more. I am going to box select those, move both of those, slide both of those over here. Keep tweaking. It really is personal preference at this point, kind of how you decide to lay all of this out. But you'll see here the point of all of this in just a second. So let's take these faces, inset, and loop tools. Just going to rotate myself here. Okay, so you can kind of see how I'm shaping all of this to these circles here. And then we can select all the ones we want to extrude backwards into the model, which is namely these and these and these. And then we can just take those and E to extrude back. And now we have a little bit more detail in reference to our model there. You know what? We have the geometry. I'm going to do it here as well for this little piece here. So take that, E to extrude that back, And there we go. That's enough detail for what I'm going for here. We'll just let the texture do the rest. Okay, so now let's get these circles going here. It's pretty straightforward. Let's add in, oh, we want to be in object mode here, so let's tab out. I want to make this a separate object for now, and then we can join them later. So let's add in a mesh circle, and before I do anything, I want to come back down here, and if you want to bring this down, you can, but 32 is fine for me because I'm not going to end up using a subdivision surface modifier. But the fill type is what we want to change. So change this to triangle fan, and then we can close that. We need to rotate this on the global Y 90 and then scale that down to fit just like that. And then let's Control A and apply that scale. Okay, I'm going to duplicate this for this one up here and just resize it, and then duplicate it again for this one here and just resize it like that. And we're going to start with this one. So let's tab into edit mode. We can I to inset that, and we can just keep doing that until we have something like this, to where I have these rings where we can eventually extrude those in. For this one, we're going to do the same thing. So let's tab into this one. And you're just going to have to follow the picture as best as you can. Obviously, it's at an angle, so it's not perfect, but we will make do. Okay, and then for this one, we're going to do a little trick here to flatten this and then flip it. So I'm going to take this edge to this edge, shift-click this twice, and on the active element, we're going to scale it, and we're going to find the axis. So Z, it's not Z, Y, it's not Y, X, there we go, and 0. And it's going to flatten that like that, and then we're going to grab it on the X and pull that back like this, so you can kind of see what we're doing here. And then in face select mode, we're going to just press L to link all of those, Shift D to duplicate that, and then in edge mode, we're going to Shift and do that again. And now we want to take the whole selection, scale it on the X, -1. Boom. And in object mode, we can just rotate that for best fit. And I think that's pretty good right there. And now we got to shape this one. So let's go into edit mode. Let's scale it a little bit more evenly. Okay. And then inset that to match. And then I'm going to do one more inset for this middle piece right here. I'm going to take these edges here. You know, let's hide the gears here for now, from here to here, and then double G to slide those in a little bit. And then I'm just going to take the points and move them out. We're just going to hide this here because I'm not going to model this back here, and we've got this circle kind of hidden back there. So I'm just going to basically just hide these back here. Okay, let's bring our gears back and let's just take a look and see what we have here. Okay. Yep, that's not too bad. We just want to make sure everything is flat. I want to make sure this back of the gears is flat as well. So if we select a face and then Shift G and then select coplanar, you can see nothing else is selected because none of these are flat. So I'm going to try to select another one, Shift G, coplanar. Okay, so you can see that all of these are flat with each other, but not all of these. But that's good. That's selecting most of it. So I'm going to circle select the rest of these. And then we still have our active element on, so that's good. So I'm going to say SZ and then 0. Okay, so now all of these are going to be coplanar, which means they're all flat. And we can test that out by coming up to one of these, Shift G and coplanar, and yeah. And then I'm going to select all of these and GZ and then snap those to the back here. And so everything is just flat on that plane back there. So then we can do our extruding. I'm going to keep all of these selected, and Blender nowadays, you can start to edit multiple objects at the same time. So I'm just going to link all of these, and then E to extrude outward here. I'm going to go to where this is kind of like right in the middle of this here. Just taking some creative liberties because I don't actually know how that really works in real life. All right, and then I'm just going to deselect all of those. Oh, let's go into X-ray mode, make sure everything is deselected there. And now we can grab on the Z. Oh, let's, why is that? Grab on the Z. No, it should be normal active. This is the active. Grab Z. There we go. I don't know why it did that. Pull these out. They're not all the same. I think this one is a little bit longer, so I'm just going to deselect those and then GZ and pull that out a little bit more, just to get some variation. Okay, and we already know that we want all the middle ones here selected and the rings here. And we're going to extrude those back like that. And make sure it's not going through the back. And we will also deselect all of these and just take those back a little bit further since this is a little bit longer there. Okay, so now with this one, I'm going to take this ring here and E to extrude. Oh, nope. We got to make sure we got the right one here. Just double A to deselect everything. This ring, E to extrude that out just a tad like that. This one, we're going to E to extrude that back. Just making sure that we're not going through the back. And then what I'm going to do with this, if you notice, this little star type shape here. We've got like a bar going through here and then kind of this X right here. So we're going to try to recreate that. It should be fairly easy. Say these three, and it's not going to be exact, but we want these three and those three, and then just these two and these two, and then down here maybe these two and these two. Maybe not this one, but this one. Okay, and then we want to, and I accidentally selected the wrong ones here, so let's try that again. Let's not do this in X-ray mode here. Okay, there we go. Now we can E to extrude those out just a little bit, like that. Okay, let's save this. And if you want to make duplicates of the circles before, and we can put those in the backups, then we can take all of these and join them together to this one. And for some reason, when you join it, it doesn't take on the smooth by angle thing. And I'm not entirely sure why, so we just have to get rid of this and then do that again. And then this asset loading is unfinished. I have no idea what that means. I just do it again, and then it comes back, and this was at 50. So now you can see, even though we've got those kind of hard vertices, we don't have a subsurf, but if we do the smooth by angle, it allows us to keep these angles here while allowing us to still have a smooth circular shape without having a subdivision surface, where we would have to add in supporting loop cuts, as you know. So this is it. Let's put a material on it now. So it's going to be using the skull material, so let's go ahead and put that on there. And of course we have to reproject the texture, so come over to our UV editing, select everything in the camera side mode. We've done this before in previous videos. I'll leave cards or links to that in the post, but our UV map still says UV map, and we need to make sure it says side. Now I could make the front and the side, but I'm only going to be projecting this from the side. So I'm only going to rename it to UV_side, which will make this red go away because it now exists. So with everything selected, U, project from view, and there we go. It should be projected just like this, and we should have that texture projected on there just like that. Now let's get the rest of our skull back on and see what's going on. Okay, so it is currently still inside here. So let's get those gears and grab them and pull them out. Let's come over here. just to where they're, oh, you know, it's not straight on there, so let's just rotate it a little bit here, just lining it up to where that's kind of starting to make sense there. Okay, and I'm going to take the bottom of this here too. Just go into local mode. And pull that down like that. All right, there we go. Now we have that reprojected, and it just adds a lot more detail to the inside of the head there. And along with the texture, it makes it look like there's a lot going on in there. But now we've got to mirror it, so add in a mirror modifier, and the skull is the object, so now we have another one over here. All right, and that looks pretty good. Okay, so we've got the pistons done, we've got the gears done. The last separate pieces that we need are the eyes. So when you're ready, head on over to the next video.